The philosopher Santayana famously observed that those who do not study the past are condemned to repeat it. What reason do you have to believe that we're more likely to be successful in Afghanistan than the British were in the 19th century or the Soviet Union was in the 20th century?
I think in Afghanistan we have to be very careful about the lessons that we draw from the past. The other one that is frequently brought up is Vietnam. And there are similarities that certainly can be drawn, but there are also significant differences, led by the fact that certainly we have no intention of occupying that country. And I think the President's decision to indicate starting the middle of July 2011 that we're going to start to transition to their lead was a very important part of that message. Strategically, certainly I know and we know we're not staying. That said, laying that out there to essentially start to turn it over to Afghan leadership was absolutely critical. And it was the right message, and I think, and I just got back from there, I think it was received in the right way. The Afghan people are vehemently opposed to the Taliban, and in many cases they're on the fence because they don't know how this is going to come out, and there's a pragmatic side of that they're also dealing with. So from the standpoint of that kind of support, it's dramatically different. There are 43 countries that are engaged with combat troops and others who are engaged on the NGO side, et cetera. That's a very strong strategic message to me about overall concern for what happens there. So I really do try to be informed by the past on those things that are relevant, but in fact, and use that certainly as instruction in terms of the potential for what the outcome could be. And I really do believe that these troops and the approach, the civilian surge, has the potential over the next year to year and a half to reverse the insurgency momentum and put us in a position to start to turn it over to Afghan leadership.
Dan Raviv, CBS News in the middle, right behind you, gentlemen, right there.
Thank you, Admiral Mullen. How are you?
Hi.
This is about Yemen. Have you been?
You're on.
Have you been asked, I guess, by the president to come up with potential targets for what could clearly be described as retaliation for the December 25th attack? And what are we doing in Yemen, and is it limited by our being overstretched?
First of all, I want to applaud the actions of the Yemeni government and the Yemeni armed forces, because they've taken significant steps visibly recently, but quite frankly, they've worked hard over the last couple of years to improve their own capabilities. Secondly, we have been, and in support from a training standpoint of what they're doing and how they're adapting to the threat, and with this very clear focus on the growth of Al-Qaeda and in Yemen, and specifically from my perspective, to make sure that we don't create another safe haven there, or another one doesn't get created. And in the third piece, operationally, I just don't discuss those kinds of details, what the president asks us to do or not do, and I just won't get into those kinds of operations.